Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Untitled Chapter podcast. And today we have the other NFL draft video. This will be the last one. I would have done this last week, but I got a little busy, so I wasn't able to really do it. And also, I figured putting all the NFL stuff along with the other stuff I already put in last week would be a lot all at the same time. So I'm just delaying this video until now. Nothing's really changed, so I didn't have to really put those out when I did them. So they'll be week-old videos, but nothing's really changed anyway, so not really going to make a difference. There has been no trades. I did a trade video beforehand and after of all the different trades that happened. All the draft day stuff, too. So I'll be uploading those with this one I'm doing right now. But let's get this started. So... yeah, I can't get. There we go. Sorry, my face isn't necessarily looking great. Sun's, there we go. It's getting a little better. Anyways, so now let's go to the draft. We'll do the NFC North first, just so we can. Let's just get our home team out of the way, which isn't really getting out of the way because it was a very good draft by the Detroit Lions, who, well, Aiden Hutchinson fell right into their lap. I mean, they could not have asked for anything any better. The Jaguars went ahead and decided to take Trayvon Walker for one reason or another. Why, I wouldn't necessarily know what reasons those are. But they took Trayvon Walker, which let the Lions go and get what I think probably will be what I think probably is the best player in this class, and Aiden Hutchinson. Great pick by the Lions. We were not stupid and go and get somebody else. We got the guy we should have. We did not take a quarterback either, which I was very happy about. And we also got a impact player at wide receiver in a very aggressive trade, going and getting Jameson Williams at number 12. Now, if you guys knew before this draft happened, we had 32 and 34. And then 66 overall, not like, well, you would figure that out by 66, and 34. But we had those picks, and we ended up getting 46 and 12 from the Vikings. So, very aggressive move here by the Detroit Lions. They go and get Jameson Williams at number 12 at wide receiver, Alabama. Ohio State transfer, went to Alabama, absolutely went bananas with Bryce Young in town. Bryce Young was awesome. Young and Williams together, those two were lethal. Jameson Williams, speed demon. Guy can run like the wind and is a very, very good wide receiver. However, the concern with him is a towards ACL, and where he is in his recovery and his rehab, I don't really know necessarily. But will he come back from this torn ACL with the same type of blazing speed, with the still Tyreek Hill like speed at my frame, really? I mean, he's 6'2", he's like 6'2", 6'3", at like 180 something pounds. That's what I am, except I'm not in shape. So this is a guy who has that kind of frame and is in shape, and also runs like Tyreek Hill. So if he ends up being what he was in college, this guy is going to be. I'm saying this right now. If he ends up being what he was in college, he will end up being better than Tyreek Hill. Just saying that, but very many questions on whether he'll actually reach that level. Anyways, move on to the next pick for the Lions. They took Josh Pascal, defensive end for Kentucky. Three-time captain for the Kentucky Wildcats. Nowhere near Aiden Hutchinson level, but he still looks like a pretty solid defensive end. We'll see if he ends up being a great defensive end. But he was pretty good in college. Nice pick by the Lions. Don't mind it. At safety, we took Herbie Joseph from Illinois. Nick Cross was stolen directly in front of us. Safety from Maryland. I badly wanted him or Jaquan Brisker but we passed up on Brisker and Daxton Hill. But we took, Hill was a late first rounder. Anyways, we had many chances at different safeties. We didn't end up taking them. This was the last one of which was available who I was interested in. We ended up taking him, Kirby Joseph. I like him. Solid safety. We needed a safety, and we got it. So well done by Detroit. And then, of course, we took a couple shots in the dark at a couple different players, a couple linebackers in there as well, a tight end for whatever reason. The big need, I love this draft for the Lions. I'm giving it an A. I would have liked if they went and got themselves a linebacker, especially with how long he was out there. Nakobe Dean, I would have loved if the Lions did that and got him, but we did not do that. But I still give the Lions an A. This is an incredible draft class. Great job by Detroit. And you're not going to hear me say that much because the Lions almost never do anything right. But this draft, they actually did. And so now we go on to the Chicago Bears, who were decent themselves. They got a corner from Washington, the other Washington corner, Kyler Gordon. Trent McDuffie went in the first round. I believe that was the Chiefs who took him. Yeah, I believe it was. But the Bears ended up getting Kyler Gordon. They also would receive Jaquan Brisker at safety. They took him in the second round, number 16. They only had second round picks since they didn't have a first rounder. They gave that to the Giants in their trade up for Justin Fields last year. But Jaquan Brisker, I love him. Very, very good safety from Penn State. Kyler Gordon, solid overall corner. Decent player. And then we have Velus Jones Jr., wide receiver from Tennessee. And they need a wide receiver, and you can see the rest of these. There's a couple of shots in the dark. Overall, not a bad draft class for the Bears. I give them a B. They did a solid job. Their first two picks were nice, and they got a wide receiver in the third round, so they addressed their top need. They addressed a big need at wide receiver. They addressed their needs. Well done. And then you have the Green Bay Packers, who, in typical Packer fashion, just still refuse to draft a wide receiver in the first round for Aaron Rodgers. I really don't think they ever will. Either way, they made a trade. Well, they got Quay Walker and both Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, two Georgia defenders, a linebacker and a defensive tackle, both in the first round. And then the Vikings, after their shocker with the Lions making that trade, they end up doing it again with the Packers. So two interdivision trades. And what did both teams select? A wide receiver. Which is shocking because, I think a lot of people are really irritated by the Vikings for both deals. I mean, no one cares about the Lions, but teams within the division are like, what are you doing? They need a wide receiver. What are you trading with them for? Especially Packers fans are really pissed because they're like, seriously? You let them just trade up so they can get Jameson Williams? I hate you. But then the Vikings say, okay, here, we'll make a trade with you now. You can go get your wide receiver. What? So the Packers go ahead and take Christian Watson, receiver from North Dakota State. Very interesting trade by the Vikings, making trades with both division rivals. Very interesting to say the least. We'll do them next. But they also got Sean Ryan, a guard from UCLA, and then Romeo Doubs, wide receiver from Nevada. You can see they took a couple other flyers on different players. Overall, Green Bay, they got their wide receiver. It was not a first-round pick, but they got a wide receiver. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Packers had a terrible draft class. They didn't. Those are two good Georgia defenders. Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, both are good players. Christian Watson, I mean, that's I guess what they're planning to be a replacement for Devontae Adams, which still I don't get that trade other than the fact that maybe he cost too much money because Rodgers literally broke the bank for him. Overall, I give Green Bay a B. They got two good Georgia defenders. They could have probably taken a receiver. They probably could have gone up and gotten a receiver higher in the draft, get a good receiver, but they get Christian Watson, so at least they did address it, but they could have done better. Now we have everybody's favorite, the Minnesota Vikings, who they were just absolutely. You look at all these picks. Actually, they didn't have any of their original picks, which is crazy. The Vikings were wheeling and dealing in this draft. They were constantly trading. But they ended up getting some nice players. They got Lewis Cine, safety from Georgia. I like that. I like this player. Another safety of which I would have loved if the Lions would have gotten him, but we didn't. Andrew Booth, corner from Clemson. Or Andrew Booth Jr., I'm sorry. Corner from Clemson. This is another. This is a guy who was supposed to probably go in the first round. Ended up slipping. The Vikings go and get him. Ed Ingram, guard from LSU. Brian Asamoah, linebacker from Oklahoma, is a solid player. Akaleb Evans, Missouri corner. You can see a couple others. And Jalen Naylor, wide receiver from Michigan State. Know that name, of course. And some others probably too. But overall, draft class for the Vikings, not too bad. Lewis Cine and Andrew Booth, both are good players. They addressed the corner spot with Andrew Booth. That was a very good pick. They could use a safety to replace Xavier Woods. They got Lewis Cine. I like this class for the Vikings. They did a good job. They got what they were looking for. And they addressed, it says that they addressed all their needs, but some of the guys they just took like flyers on, so I don't really know if you'd necessarily count that. But they got good players. They went out and they got what they were looking for. They got their needs. They addressed it, and boom, that's their draft class. Good job by the Vikings. I give them honestly a B+. And I really only give them a B+ because I'm really confused as to why they made a trade with both the Lions and the Packers to let them both get a wide receiver, especially Green Bay. That one was really confusing. But they make trades with both teams, and they get some solid players along the way, especially Lewis Cine, Andrew Booth. I like that duo. So B+ for Green Bay. I keep flipping around Minnesota and Green Bay. Minnesota. So now we go to the NFC South. And let's start with the Atlanta Falcons, who many people in the first round are expecting them to take a wide receiver. Shocker, that's exactly what they did. And they took Drake London, who's a huge receiver from USC. I believe his frame's like 6'5". 6'4". 6'4", 218-pound wide receiver. And he has a pretty stinking good 40 time, too. That's an awesome draft pick for the Atlanta Falcons. Not many people seem to be as high on Drake London as I am, but this is a very good wide receiver. Incredible player. I think he's going to be really good for Atlanta. We're going to see what happens with Calvin Ridley, who, dummy, but Atlanta, they get himself a very good wide receiver in Drake London. That's an awesome pick. Arnold Ebiketie, defensive end from Penn State, is also a very good pick. Desmond Ritter, interesting pick. Took him at quarterback. I don't know if they're planning on Desmond Ritter to be their replacement for Matty Ice, but he probably won't be. Troy Anderson, Montana State linebacker, not a bad player. Tyler Algier, I like this. I do really like this player. Running back from BYU. He has honestly some decent talent. I'm curious to see what he does with Atlanta, because they don't really have a running back. So that position is kind of open because they released Mike Davis and they don't really have another running back. So really, Tyler Algier could be the guy for Atlanta, which would be awesome to see. But that's the Atlanta Falcons. Overall, pretty solid job. They did get a quarterback. because they did get Desmond Ritter. So we'll see what Ritter does this year, if he ends up being a starter for Atlanta, if it ends up being Marcus Mariota. That'll be an interesting battle to watch throughout the year. But Atlanta, not bad. I give them an A minus. They did a good job. Drake London's a good player. Ebikete's a good player. So is Ritter. Algiers a nice pick. Anderson not too bad from Tennessee State. Overall, well done, Atlanta. Now we have the Carolina Panthers, who everyone knows this is another team just like Atlanta, who is looking for a quarterback. Because they are pretty much stuck at the bottom of the barrel when it comes to QBs and also offensive line. They need guys to protect specifically that quarterback and then open holes for Christian McCaffrey, their all-star running back. But they only had they had a first round pick. They had their own first rounder. And then I don't think they had another pick until round 4. So that was not really ideal for Carolina. But with that first round pick, they went and got a top of the line offensive lineman. They got their local prospect, Ikem Ekwonu, tackle from NC State. Good pick. Well done. Great job by Carolina. And then, after being out of the draft for a while, they decided we're going to trade up and go and get our guy. And so they made a move for a quarterback. They got late in the 3rd round, Matt Corral, quarterback from Ole Miss. Good pick. I like this one by the Panthers. Like I said, they need a quarterback. Sam Darnold is not the answer. Guy is a major league bum. He sucks. I didn't like the trade from the beginning when the Panthers made it. I'm like, God, the Jets just completely fleeced them. What were they doing? But good pick here by the Panthers. They look to get themselves a. Corral is dealing with an injury, I think, right now. I think he'll be good by the time training camp comes. I'm not sure. But Matt Corral, good quarterback, great player, played well at Ole Miss. See how he does in the NFL, but Matt Corral definitely has talent, definitely can go different places. And then Brandon Smith, linebacker, Penn State, couple other picks here. These are the top 2 picks here. These are the most important ones. And, well, guess what? They're the top 2 needs. Outstanding job by Carolina, especially considering what they had and the mess they were in. I give them an A. I give them an A minus. I'll say A minus. They did a solid job. They made good picks. They got good players. That's what they needed to do. So now we head to New Orleans Saints, who they have a couple pressing needs at receiver and offensive line. Look what the top 2 picks are: receiver and offensive line. They did an awesome job. They went up. They made a trade. They jumped up a few picks after making that trade with the Eagles, which got them a second first-round pick. They used that first-round pick that they got from the Eagles, one of those first-round picks, a higher one, to move up a couple spots to trade with the Washington football team, and went and got another Ohio State receiver. They got Chris Olave, who's a very good wide receiver from Ohio State. All New Orleans fans are hoping he doesn't end up being the next Michael Thomas, because otherwise, if he ends up being Michael Thomas, he won't ever stay healthy. But Chris Olave is very good from Ohio State. Him and Garrett Wilson tore it up with the Buckeyes. Both of those two were absolutely lethal. Olave goes at number 11. Very good receiver. Very good pick. And this is also a very good pick. Trevor Penning, I believe that's how it's pronounced. Trevor Penning, offensive tackle from Northern Iowa. And that's another very good pick. One of the top offensive linemen. Very deep tackle class. Very good, very deep line class. And they went and got one of the premium guys in Trevor Penning. Well done. Good pick. That's outstanding job by the Saints to go and get a pressing need. And then they have Alte, I don't know how it's pronounced, Alte Taylor, corner from Tennessee, DeMarco Jackson, and then Jordan Jackson. So not many later picks, but those top three are all great picks and are all good players. So I give the Saints a B plus because they did get, or I give them an A. I give them an A minus. They got their top two needs. Um, maybe you could, quarterback, maybe could have gone for one, but this isn't really the year to go for one. They don't really necessarily need one right now, so I don't flame the Saints for not doing it. And now we go to the Tampa Bay Bucks, which really just need all. Tampa Bay just needs some youth on their team. That's all they're looking for. They're looking for good young players. That's all they're looking for right now. And they got one. They got Logan Hall with the first pick in the second round. They traded out because the Jaguars traded up with them to go and get Devin Lloyd. But they would end up getting Logan Hall, a defensive end from Houston, which was a crazy stat about this pick. Logan Hall, with Logan Hall and Tom Brady. So, crazy stat here. Tom Brady has been playing in the NFL longer than the newest draft pick here, Logan Hall for the Tampa Bay Bucks, has even been alive. So, crazy stat for you guys right there. So that's Logan Hall. And then you have Luke Godeke, tackle from Central Michigan. Good player there. Good pick there. Two bookends from Central Michigan coming out this year. This was one of them. Good player. Richard Wallace, Richard White. Yeah, Richard Wallace, no. Richard White, running back from Arizona State. Cade Oten, tight end from Washington. Got Georgia punter. A couple decent picks. I'll give them a B. You know, they got some solid players on here. It's an all right class. Nothing to write home about, but you know, overall solid. Now we go with the NFC, the NFC East. We go first with the Dallas Cowboys, I believe. Yes, Dallas Cowboys first. They had an interesting draft class, and not many Dallas fans were very happy with this class. And honestly, I don't necessarily blame them because their first round pick is really not that good, and it's Tyler Smith, offensive tackle out of Tulsa. They do need a tackle, but this is not a good tackle. He wasn't expected to be a first-round pick. They took him in the first round. Not very exciting. Then they did get an outside linebacker. They got Sam Williams from Ole Miss. They did need somebody opposite to help out Micah Parsons. Jalen Tolbert, a wide receiver from South Alabama. No one got that one. Jake Ferguson, tight end from Wisconsin. Their draft class, it surrounds around this pick right here and Tyler Smith. And that was a need for them. They did need a tackle, but he's not a great tackle. And so this is not highly thought of. I give Dallas. I would give Dallas a C plus because as much as they did get a need, it's not that good. And if you're counting on him to be your starter, well, yeah. Anyway, now we go on to the next team. We have the New York Giants, who, my gosh, did they kill this draft. So they had two of the top 7 picks. They got Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal. You could not ask for anything better. Kayvon Thibodeau, potential number 1 pick. He slipped a little bit. Many people question his motor. I think with the Giants, I think Kayvon Thibodeau is going to be an outstanding player. I think him or Aiden Hutchinson will be the best players in this draft. And to get him at 5 is an absolute steal for the New York Giants. And they also get potentially the best tackle in this class, in Evan Neal. They didn't have offensive line. They still don't really have offensive line. Andrew Thomas was a little better last year, but they still needed another offensive lineman, another tackle. They went and got Evan Neal. Beautiful. Then they got a really good receiver from Kentucky, Wan'Dale Robinson. It was a little high, but I do like him. This is a solid wide receiver. They got a guard from North Carolina, solid corner, tight end, safety from Dane Belton from Iowa. And this is a good draft class by the Giants. It's surrounded around their two top picks, which are both very good picks. Giants are a bit of a mess right now, but hey, you get a good tackle to try and help out in the offensive line, and also a guard to help on the offensive line with Saquon Barkley, and you get a really good edge rusher to help out your defense. I love this pick by the Giants. Outstanding job. I give the Giants an A. And then we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who, my gosh, they killed this draft too. They got Jordan Davis. They traded up 2 spots. I think it kind of got thrown off because they traded up 2 spots before the Lions took Jamison Williams. And so I think the Eagles are probably sitting there thinking wide receiver, and they're like, oh, crap. What do we do now? And so they decide, what the heck? We'll go get Jordan Davis. Very good defensive tackle. I love this player. Once again, issues maybe about, not motor necessarily, but stamina. Not exactly a guy who plays a ton of snaps, but when he does, holy crap, is he good. So it'll be a question of how much he actually is on the field for Philadelphia. But, if he has any ability to consistently stay on the field and not get gassed quickly, my gosh. There is not a single person on planet Earth who runs as fast as that man at that size. When you have a 6'6", 340 frame and you're running a 4.81 40, yeah. So this is an outstanding pick by the Philadelphia Eagles. Cameron Jurgens, center from Nebraska, that's a decent player. This is the steal of the draft. I'm sorry. This is unbelievable. Nakobe Dean went all the way in the 3rd round. Yes, a 3rd round pick for a 1st round pick. Just how? I don't understand why no one took this guy. He was the leader of the Georgia defense. Many people say he's a little undersized. This is an outstanding player from Georgia. And they also pair him with probably the other leader of the Georgia defense, and Jordan Davis. And of course, everyone knows they made a trade at wide receiver. And they got A.J. Brown. Technically that's part of the draft because they traded for A.J. Brown with the Titans, gave him a 1st and a 3rd. And then paid him a ton of money, and so he's sticking around. So not only did you address wide receiver, but you got 2 of the best defenders probably in this class. One of them in the 3rd round. So I give the Eagles an A+. I don't care what else they did. They only took a couple other guys, but they got a good center. They got a center in the 2nd round, another position of which they needed. It says they didn't address wide receiver. They did. In corner, they could use another corner, but they could certainly just sign someone in free agency. I love this class for the Philadelphia Eagles. They absolutely killed it. Unbelievable job by Philadelphia. I give a hand clap to you guys. My gosh, awesome class for Philadelphia. And so now we also have the Washington Washington Commanders. I'm sorry. And so they were okay in this class. They traded down with the New Orleans Saints. They got themselves a wide receiver. Not the one I was expecting, but I do like this wide receiver. Jahan Dotson, very good receiver from Penn State. I thought he would go a little bit later. He's a good player, but it might be a little high for him. But this is still a really good player. I like this pick by Washington. Like I said, maybe a little high, but still very good. Then you got Fedarian Mathis, defensive tackle from Alabama. helps out in a defense that really was supposed to be really good last year and major league struggled. Brian Robinson, running back from Alabama, that was a confusing pick because they didn't really need a running back. They have Antonio Gibson. So why drafting Brian Robinson in the third round? Interesting one. Percy Butler, safety from Louisiana. And then Sam Howell, quarterback from North Carolina. That was a incredible steal. He had a bad year last year, and so that's probably why he slipped as far as he did. But I mean, he is still a good quarterback, and that's an awesome pick in the fifth round. And so I think that's a good steal for Washington. And between that pick and Jahan Dotson, I give Washington I'll give him a B minus because not many people. I'm not really thrilled about the rest of this class. There's not many other names in here, but getting Sam Howell that late, and even if he did reach a little bit for Jahan Dotson, he's still a good player. So I'll give I'll give Washington a B minus. So now we move on to the last division in the NFC. We go to the NFC West. We'll start with my Seattle Seahawks. I am so sad that we do not have Russell Wilson anymore, but we got some nice draft picks out of it. And we did take an offensive tackle with one. We took Charles Cross. Well done, Seattle. That was the one thing we so desperately needed. We did not have an offensive line. Now we finally have one. We have Charles Cross, offensive tackle from Mississippi State. Love that pick. Boy Moff, offensive outside linebacker from Minnesota. Solid pick. He's been flying up boards. Not many people are that high on him, but we need defense. And considering how desperately we needed just anything on a defensive end, that's a solid pick. This is an interesting one. We took Kenneth Walker, running back, of course, from Michigan State. Transferred over to the Spartans from Wake Forest. He was really good at Michigan State. Had an incredible season. But it was a really interesting pick because, it really was interesting because they'd have both Rashad Penny and Chris Carson. So, Kenneth Walker could easily be a starter for Seattle. And especially for the Seahawks, those two never really stay healthy. So my question now is, what is Seattle planning on doing with those other two guys? Or is Kenneth Walker just going to be a wasted second-round pick? Because Kenneth Walker could be a very good running back for Seattle. He could be a key player for the Seahawks. He very much could be. And so my question is, what do they plan on doing with Carson and Penny? Or just one of them? Or something? Are they going to look to go and get a quarterback with one of those running backs? I'm sure there's a team that, you can go and get a quarterback, send them a running back in a first-round pick or something like that. Or not first-round pick. Or send them like a draft pick or something like that. It leaves up to discussion what this pick means, but I like it because that's a good running back. And then you have Abraham Lucas, tackle from Washington State. He's a decent tackle. It's a deep tackle class. We got two of them, so hopefully those can be our bookend tackles, which would be awesome. And we got Kobe Bryant, not the now passed away Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace, my dear friend. But we have corner Kobe Bryant from Cincinnati. Very good. Is a solid corner. I like this player. It'll be an interesting pick. Tyree Smith, decent player from Ohio State, defensive end. I like this draft class for the Seattle Seahawks. They did a good job. They made lots of really good picks. I give them an A because they did not take a quarterback. I would give them an A+ if they took a quarterback. They didn't take one. They're really trying to count on Drew Lock. No. Unless you're trading for Baker Mayfield, no. Just no. just no. So now we head to the Arizona Cardinals, who had in their own interesting moves in the draft this year. So the Philadelphia Eagles, they made their trade for a wide receiver. Arizona did the same, just not for a wide receiver. We were thinking, as they went and got Marquise Brown, wide receiver from the Baltimore Ravens. They gave them a first. The Ravens would give them a third in this year's draft. Might be overpaying a little bit, but I think this trade is more of a move to try and keep Kyler Murray happy. I think that's really the only reason that trade was made. Because Arizona, it's been clear recently that Kyler Murray and Arizona, the relationship there has been kind of interesting. So now they go and get his former college teammate, and they spend a lot on him. They get his former college teammate and bring him home, and I mean, it is a need, but he hasn't been necessarily great. And the fact of what they paid for him, that's a lot. So this is a very big risk by Arizona, which is going to be very much more counted upon because DeAndre Hopkins has been suspended for the first 6 games of the year because he took drugs. Yeah, so Arizona's really going to have to count on the fact that Marquise Brown is now in town. Of course, they also have AJ Green, amongst others. No, what's his name? Went to the Jaguars. Crap. But the Jaguars overpaid him, so he is no longer with the Cardinals. Still can't come up with his name. But anyways, he is no longer there. You guys know who I'm talking about. Well, most of you probably. So here we are in the draft. They go and get, with their second round pick, Trey Mcbride, a tight end from Colorado State. He is the top tight end in this class. So, interesting pick, because they do already have Zach Ertz, of which they got at the trade deadline last year. And, I mean, we all know Zach Ertz is a really good tight end. So, unless they're trying to do 2 tight end sets, don't really get this pick. Third round pick they spent on a very good defensive end from San Diego State, Cameron Thomas. He was very good for the Aztecs. It is something that Arizona could use. They ended up getting another defensive end with their other third round pick in Myjah Sanders from Cincinnati. You can see they took some flyers on some other players. I give Arizona a B- because they spent a lot just to make Kyler Murray happy, and then they kind of flopped with that tight end pick. It's still a good pick because he's a good tight end, and Cameron Thomas is actually a really good player, and he's a decent, and Sanders is a decent defensive end in Cincinnati. But they spent a lot on Marquise Brown, and unless Hollywood Brown ends up being if that Murray-Brown connection in Arizona ends up being just unbelievable, that's going to completely tear apart Arizona's season. So now we head to my favorite, the LA Rams, who basically spent away their entire future for the team that won the Super Bowl, defending champs. They had a third round pick. They spent it on a guard. They also took a corner from South Carolina State and got a running back from Notre Dame. They have nothing in this. Oh, wow, they took a tackle from Michigan State. Well, you know. But for the LA Rams, I mean, they don't really have many needs. They've signed pretty much everything that they have, and they don't have any draft picks either. So, I mean, for the draft, I'm gonna give them, I guess, C, right about average, because they don't really have any picks. Nothing wows you, and they didn't make a bad one either. So, because they couldn't really make a bad one. So, I mean, I give them pretty much nothing because there wasn't really anything that they could get. So now we move on to the San Francisco 49ers, which were also missing a first round pick because of their trade with Miami Dolphins to get Trey Lance last year, which is still in kind of limbo because they don't know what to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, who has been playing really well. So they got Drake Jackson with their first pick, which is an outside linebacker from USC. I like that pick. Very good player. And then they got Tyron Davis Prince, a running back from LSU. Now we know that the 49 San Francisco is like running back university. They fly through running backs. You've had Raheem Mostert. There's been so many running backs I've just gone. I'm forgetting his name. He's with the New York Jets now at running back. Tevin Coleman, he's been with the 49ers. Carlos Hyde. I mean, they fly through running backs, but pretty much every running back they have has been very good. And this could be, honestly, this pick could be an insurance policy as to what happens with Deebo Samuel, because the shocking discussion was Deebo Samuel, which was basically a wide back or running receiver, really wide back, really, because he basically took a million run. He ran half the time and caught half the time. He was basically the Niners offense. Has requested a trade out of San Francisco. So whatever happens there is going to be very interesting. But I mean, that's the offense. That's their entire offense, and he wants out, supposedly. Will he get traded? I highly doubt it, because there's no way San Francisco ever gives him away unless they get like 3 first-round picks, like the Texans somehow did for Deshaun Watson. Don't get that at all, but interesting pick there. They also got Danny Gray, wide receiver from SMU. Took a couple flyers and other players. They took Brock Purdy with Mr. Irrelevant, which was kind of funny. And I mean, he's a decent quarterback, but he ain't gonna do anything for him. And overall, the Niners, all okay class, not too bad. I like Drake Jackson. Other than that, not really much. I give him a B minus. I guess really a C plus. There's not really many picks they had to do with. Their top one was good. They got Jake Jackson. Other than that, there's not really much. So overall, not really much you could do, but what you did do was overall okay. So that is it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll have some videos coming next week. It'll probably be another video on the NBA playoffs, as the next round will be completed by next weekend. So next Monday will be the next video reviewing the previous round and then previewing the next round. I pretty much have everything right, and so as of right now, I'm not in trouble, but pretty much every series now is now tied at 2 games. So that's going to be interesting. Of course, 2 games are also tonight. The next MLB review won't be until the beginning of June, which hopefully the Tigers start finding an offense by that point. Yeah, it's been pretty pitiful so far. Of course, NHL playoffs are on right now. If you're wondering if I do NHL, I don't. I don't even pay attention to the NHL. I've really stopped watching the NHL ever. I stopped paying. I never really paid attention that much. I only really paid attention when the Red Wings were kind of decent. When they started sucking, I completely stopped paying attention. I know like one hockey player at this point. That's like Alex Ovechkin. Other than that, Dylan Larkin. But other than that, I don't really know much about. I don't know anything about the NHL. So you'll have to go elsewhere for that, unfortunately. But next week we'll have some more videos for you. NBA might do a college football episode. I have not done one in some time. I don't think I actually went over coaching changes as of yet. So that'll be something I might do next weekend or this weekend. I'm not really sure. Probably next weekend. Anyways, that's all I got for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And until next time, until next week, because that'll be when I'm doing videos. Until next time, adios, everyone.